The Galactic Consortium's research station orbited a dying star, its metallic hull gleaming against the cosmic backdrop. Inside, in Laboratory 7C, Dr. Mira Chen had been awake for 37 standard hours. Kerr watched from the corner of the lab, his luminescent whiskers twitching with concern. The young Felixian's fur rippled through shades of worried blue as he observed his human supervisor hunched over her workstation, her fingers moving sluggishly across the holographic interface. "She's going to collapse," whispered Tala, another Felixian cub who had just entered with a tray of nutrition packets. Her ear tufts flattened against her skull. "Kier, we should call medical." "No," Kerr said softly, his tail curling. "Humans. They don't like to be interrupted when they're in what Mira calls the zone. Besides, she told me yesterday that these reports are due before the Consortium Council meeting in 6 hours. The stellar cartography data sprawled across multiple screens, thousands of entries, requiring analysis, categorization, and detailed explanations. It was work that would take a team of seasoned researchers days to complete. Mira had volunteered to do it alone, unwilling to pull others from their crucial projects. That was the thing about humans. Kerr had learned during his 6-month internship. They carried impossible burdens, as if they weighed nothing at all. Mira's head drooped. She jerked it back up, blinking rapidly, her dark eyes struggling to focus. She reached for her coffee, her 9th cup, but her hand trembled so badly that Kier feared she'd spill the scalding liquid on herself. "Just a few more entries," Mira murmured, her words slurring. "The M-class stars need cross-referencing with." Her sentence died. Her head lowered slowly, gently, until her cheek rested against her folded arms. Within seconds, her breathing deepened into the rhythmic pattern of sleep. Kier and Tala exchanged glances. "We should let her rest," Tala said. "And tell him what?" Kerr interrupted. "That the human pushed herself to exhaustion trying to complete work that 3 of his species would consider impossible? He'll file a report. She'll be reprimanded for inefficient resource management of personal energy reserves." He had heard such bureaucratic nonsense before. The Felixian cubs were barely considered adults by their people's standards, young scholars sent to learn from other species. But in the past months, they had learned something the Elder Consortium members failed to understand. Humans didn't break promises. If Mira said she'd complete the reports, she believed she could. And if she couldn't, it would devastate her. Kier approached Mira's workstation, his paws silent on the laboratory floor. The screens still glowed with unfinished work. He glanced at the sleeping human, her face relaxed for the first time in days, dark circles under her eyes, her brown hair escaping its practical bun. "What are you thinking?" Tala asked, moving beside him. "I'm thinking," Kerr said slowly, "that Mira has taught us everything in these databases. Every classification system, every analytical framework, every standard notation." His whiskers brightened to determined gold. "I'm thinking that she doesn't need to do this alone." Tala's eyes widened. "Kerr, we're just cubs. This is consortium-level work." "She never treated us like cubs," Kerr said firmly. "Remember the first day? When Supervisor Grath introduced us as the younglings who will observe?" Mira looked us in the eyes and said, "Welcome to the team. She's been teaching us, trusting us, treating us as equals." He pulled up a secondary workstation. "We have 5 hours and 43 minutes. There are 2 of us. And we have the best teacher in the consortium, even if she's currently unconscious." Tala hesitated for only a moment before her fur shifted to determined orange. She activated another workstation. "I'll take the spectral classifications. You handle the spatial distributions?" Agreed. They worked in synchronized silence, 2 young Phylexians racing against time. Their paws flew across holographic keyboards, their enhanced night vision allowing them to parse data in the dimmed laboratory. Where they stumbled, they referenced Mira's previous reports, learning her methodology, her attention to detail, her unique way of finding patterns that others missed. 3 hours in, Kier discovered why Mira had been stuck. A data corruption in the core stellar measurements had created cascading errors. It would require recalculating thousands of entries. "We don't have time," Tala whispered, her fur flickering with anxiety. Kier looked at the sleeping human. He remembered her explaining a human concept called working smarter, not harder. He remembered her showing them shortcut algorithms that she'd developed herself, unofficial tools that the consortium's rigid bureaucracy would never approve, but that worked beautifully. "We use Mira's personal algorithms," he decided. "The ones she showed us off the record. But those aren't approved. Mira used them. They're accurate. That's what matters." They implemented the shortcuts. The data flowed, corrected, aligned. The reports took shape. Professional, detailed, indistinguishable from Mira's own work. Because it was Mira's work, in a way. Every technique, every analytical approach, every insight came from what she had taught them. As dawn cycle illumination began filtering through the station's viewports, Kerr input the final entry. He attached their names to the report as research assistants under Dr. Mira Chen's supervision and queued it for submission. The workstation chimed softly. "Report submitted to Consortium Council. Status: accepted." Tala sagged with relief, her fur cycling through exhausted purples and grays. Mira stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion crossing her face. She sat up abruptly, looking at her screens, her expression shifting to panic. "The reports." "I fell asleep. The deadline is met," Kerr said gently. "The reports were submitted 42 minutes ago." Mira stared at him, then at Tala, then at the confirmation message on her screen. Her eyes widened as she pulled up the submitted documents, scrolling through pages of completed, polished work. You both did this? You taught us well," Tala said simply. Tears welled in Mira's eyes. That strange human response that Kier had learned meant overwhelming emotion. Not necessarily sadness. I can't believe you. This was my responsibility." "No," Kier said, his whiskers glowing warm amber. "You taught us that research is collaboration. That teams support each other. That when one falls, others lift them up." Mira laughed, a sound caught between a sob and joy. She reached out, and both cubs allowed her to pull them into a human embrace, awkward for Felixians. But somehow perfect. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you both." Later, when Supervisor Grath reviewed the reports and praised their exceptional quality, he never thought to question how a human who had been on the edge of collapse had produced such flawless work. But Kier and Tala knew. They had learned the greatest human lesson of all. That the strength of humanity wasn't in their individual endurance, but in their ability to inspire others to be stronger, kinder, and more capable than they ever thought possible. And sometimes, the greatest gift a teacher can receive is watching their students succeed even while they sleep.